If you look at the map of Australia, then rotate it slightly like this, you can see that the northwest of Australia points directly out over Indonesia, through the South China Sea and straight towards the growing threat of China. If an attack on Australia came, there is a high potential that this stretch of the country would be the defensive lines, which is why there is a network of military bases from Learmonth to Townsville. Some of these are full operating bases, others are bare bases, lightly staffed in peacetime but stocked with fuel, shelters and infrastructure so they can activate within hours. And right now they're being transformed. Billions are going into stronger runways, hardened shelters, expanded fuel storage and high-tech networks that integrate Australia directly with allied forces. China's rapid military build-up is driving this shift. Today we're looking at Australia's frontline bases, what's there, what's changing, and what it means for our ability to deter and defend in the Indo-Pacific. I'm Mel Pikos, and today we're talking tactics. Before we get started, it would really help me out if you hyped this video. On your smartphone, where you would normally hit like, try scrolling to the left to reveal the hype option. It's a great way that you can help smaller creators like me, and if we get enough hype points, we can make it to the top 100 leaderboard. So I'd really appreciate if you'd considered hyping this video and helping to get it seen by more people. Now, onto the video. Why does the north of Australia matter? The north of Australia isn't just a big empty space on the map. It's the front line of our strategic environment. Geographically, it's our closest point to Southeast Asia and the wider Indo-Pacific. From Darwin, you're only a short hop to Indonesia, Singapore, and the vital sea lanes that lead into the South China Sea, the Pacific Ocean, and the Indian Ocean. If anything serious happens in our region, it's going to pass through this neighbourhood first. And historically, this has always been Australia's forward line. During World War II, the top end was where Australia was bombed and where we rebuilt our defensive position. That logic hasn't changed. What has changed is the strategic environment. China has rapidly expanded its military, built advanced missile systems, and increased its power projection across the Indo-Pacific. Sea lanes are more contested. Grey zone tactics like cyber attacks and coercive economic measures have become routine. And modern missile ranges mean Australia's distance from the rest of the world is no longer a protective moat. That's why Australia needs forces that can be forward deployed, sustained, and ready at short notice. Australia's north is where that happens. It's also why the United States increased its presence here in the 2010s. In 2012, the US Marine Rotational Force began training out of Darwin, marking the start of deeper cooperation and more frequent joint exercises. Air Marshal Rob Chipman, the Vice Chief of the ADF, recently said,
"Historically, we've enjoyed a 10-year warning time to conflict. We now assess that that warning time has evaporated and that we need to be ready sooner than that."
And that means we need to bolster our northern bases. Bolstering the bases. So, what does bolstering the bases actually mean? In simple terms, it's about turning Northern Australia from a sparse network of outposts into a fully capable, forward operating defence platform. Not just places where troops visit, but operational bases where the ADF and our partners can deploy from, sustain operations and respond quickly to any crisis in the Indo-Pacific. In the 2023 Defence Strategic Review specifically highlights Australia's northern bases, stating, "The ADF's operational success will depend on the ability of the integrated force to apply a developed network of northern bases to provide a platform for logistics, support, denial, and deterrence." It followed that with national defence requires a reposturing of defence, particularly an enhanced network of bases, ports, and barracks across Northern Australia. Comprehensive upgrade works on these bases must commence immediately, and fuel storage and supply issues should be rectified. And recommended that upgrades and development of our northern network of bases, ports, and barracks should commence immediately. The government agreed and announced in the following year's National Defence Strategy, one of the key immediate priorities was improving the ADF's ability to operate from Australia's northern bases. This turned into real investment. The integrated investment program includes investments of $14 to $18 billion to ensure defence has a logistically connected and resilient set of bases, ports, and barracks across Australia's north. Basically, we're going to create a network of fully operational air bases, ports and barracks which can be utilised by all arms of the ADF. Our forces could hop from one base to another, refuel or resupply as needed, and continue on. This will increase our ability to project and keep any aggressors at bay. If something happens, the ADF isn't waiting for supplies to come from Brisbane or Sydney, they're already there. The bottom line is that the North stops being just a lookout point and instead becomes a launch pad. But what are the physical upgrades that this $18 billion will actually get us? The bases. Some of the northern bases and ports that will be upgraded include RAAF bases at Learmonth, Curtin, Darwin, Scherger and Townsville, the Navy ports HMAS Coonawarra and HMAS Cairns, the Cocos Keeling Islands Air Base, the training areas at Robertson Barracks, Mount Bundy, Kangaroo Flats and the Bradshaw Field Training Area, and the Harold E. Holt Naval Communications Station. Let's take a look at just a few of these. RAAF Base Learmonth. RAAF Base Learmonth on the northwest coast of Australia near Exmouth is undergoing a major upgrade to transform it into a high-capacity forward air hub capable of supporting KC-30A tanker operations. The project includes strengthening the runway and taxiways for heavier aircraft, building new connecting taxiways, upgrading airfield lighting, and constructing dedicated parking aprons with in-ground hydrant refueling systems. A new fuel installation will also allow sustained tanker and cargo operations. The redevelopment, estimated at $662 million and scheduled for completion by 2028, will give Learmonth a major strategic boost. Once finished, it won't just be a backup base. It will become a key logistics and aerial refueling node, extending the ADF's reach deep into the Indian Ocean and across Australia's northwest. RAAF Darwin. RAAF Base Darwin is being upgraded to improve its ability to support the personnel, aircraft, and support elements operating from the base during major activities and exercises. Works started earlier this year and will see upgrades to enhanced security, community safety and resilience, including a new high-capacity main entrance, an upgraded entrance for heavy vehicles, and upgraded to potable water, firefighting water and sewer infrastructure. These recent upgrades have followed previous works which saw enhancements to the main runway and taxiways designed to improve the capacity, security and resilience of the base. 2023 also saw the construction of a $76 million bulk fuel storage facility funded by the US, designed to enhance operational capabilities and support for training exercises to enable enhanced air cooperation between Australia and the USA. And right now, there's a lot of landing clearing underway at RAAF Darwin for what seems like it could be too much parking areas and new taxiways for aircraft. But given the scale of the work, there's speculation that some of this space could be set aside for Project Air 6502, the Air Force's future medium-range ground-based air defence system. And honestly, having a permanent battery of missile interceptors on standby in the top end would be a great idea, particularly in the current threat environment. RAAF Base Tindal. The airbase at Tindal has fast become one of the most important bases in Australia. It's currently home to the number 75 Squadron, flying the F-35 Joint Strike Fighters, and is a key forward operating base for the E-7 Wedgetail early warning and control aircraft. It's receiving a number of infrastructure upgrades, such as refurbishments to the fire station, community buildings and security alarms, increasing living quarters, electrical infrastructure, sewerage and storm stormwater upgrades. But the key upgrades include extending and upgrading the runway and taxiway, expanding the parking apron, and building an aviation fuel farm. These upgrades are specifically designed to increase the capacity of RAAF-based Tindal to support KC-30A multi-role tanker transport operations, in particular air-to-air refueling and air logistics support missions. The upgrades are also designed to allow for the US deployment of B-52 bombers from Tindal. Revealed in Four Corners a few years ago, the plans allow for 6 of the US's deadliest bombers to be parked at the airbase. There would also be USAF fuel storage and further training undertaken by United States Air Force as part of the US Force Posture Initiative. HMAS Coonawarra. The Navy port in Darwin sits inside the Larrakia Defence Precinct, although lately some people are referring to it as the Larrakia Construction Precinct, thanks to how long the upgrades are taking. Jokes aside, it's a critical naval hub for Australia, and the modernisation work underway is absolutely essential. Just this year, Kuru Wharf was opened, which means more berthing capacity for naval vessels, including major surface combatants and submarines. It's big enough to allow the Royal Navy's Queen Elizabeth-class aircraft carriers to dock. Upgrades also include a new Norforce precinct comprising headquarters, training and operational facilities, as well as a workshop and vehicle shelters, a new 2-storey shared user facility, a new base entry precinct and associated infrastructure, the construction of a 3,000 square metre hard stand with associated buildings, and the construction of a new ready-use fuel facility with a 3.5 million litre storage capacity. The result, once the upgrades are actually completed, will be a dramatically strengthened naval precinct that can host bigger ships, move faster in a crisis, and anchor Australia's presence across the north. Cocos Island. Sitting nearly 3,000 kilometres northwest of Perth, the Cocos Keeling Islands might look like a tropical holiday postcard, but for the defence planners, this remote outpost is one of the most important pieces of strategic real estate Australia owns. Right now, the airfield on the West Island is too short and too weak for large defence aircraft. That means no P-8A Poseidons, no KC-30A tankers, no large UAVs, and no heavy air mobility platforms. In a region where long-range surveillance and reach are essential, that's a major limitation. So Australia is fixing that. The Cocos Keeling Islands Airfield Upgrade Project is a multi-year overhaul that will transform it into a fully capable forward operating base in the Indian Ocean. The upgrade includes extending and strengthening the runway so it can support large defence aircraft and long-range ISR platforms, improving pavement infrastructure across the entire airfield, boosting resilience and allowing heavier aircraft to land without damaging the surface, upgrading airfield lighting and drainage, improving all-weather operations and reducing the impact of tropical downpours, building a new permanent construction wharf based at Rumah Baru Port at the northeast of West Island. This is crucial for getting heavy equipment, fuel and supplies onto the island for both the upgrade and any future defence operations. Once complete, Cocos becomes far more than a remote airstrip. It becomes a forward launch point for surveillance flights deep into the Indian Ocean, a staging area for long-range patrols, and a key piece in Australia's broader network of northern and northwestern bases. Australia's sovereignty and alliances. Strengthening Australia's military bases is not just about pouring concrete, lengthening runways, or upgrading fuel source. It is also about sovereignty. The more capable Australia's bases are, the more control Australia has over its own defence posture. When Australia can host, maintain, and operate advanced aircraft, submarines, and surveillance systems from its own territory, it reduces dependence on others and expands its ability to act independently if the strategic environment demands it. Upgraded northern bases give Australia the option to project power further into the Indo-Pacific. Hardened facilities, dispersed fuel and ammunition depots, and improved logistics hubs all help ensure that Australian forces can keep operating even under pressure. This resilience is a core part of modern sovereignty. It is not enough to simply own the equipment. You need the infrastructure that lets you to sustain it. But strengthening sovereignty does not mean shutting allies out. In fact, modern defence planning works best when nations can operate together smoothly. Australia's base upgrades also increase interoperability with close partners. Improved runways, shared maintenance facilities, and secure digital networks allow allied forces to refuel, train, and operate alongside the ADF during joint exercises or in times of crisis. Australia remains in charge of its bases. Australia decides who uses them and on what terms. Yet giving allies the ability to plug in when needed strengthens deterrence. It signals to potential adversaries that any threat against Australia will not be faced alone. Interoperability is not a loss of sovereignty. It is a force multiplier that enhances Australia's freedom to choose how and when to act. In short, stronger bases give Australia both independence and stronger partnerships. They reinforce national control while enabling cooperation. And in a region where power balances are shifting quickly, that combination is one of Australia's greatest strategic assets. What do you think? Is the government doing enough to strengthen Australia's northern bases? What else could be upgraded? Or is this money better spent on other military capabilities like drones, fighter jets, or missile defense? Don't forget to hype this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you haven't already. That's it for today. I'm Pikos, and we've been talking tactics.